Infectious disease expert and virologist Dr. Lane Rowling is with us now to talk about this. Good evening, Dr. Rowling. Welcome back to BNC. It's good to see you.
Hello, Brittany and staff. Super fantastic Sunday night. Hello.
So, Dr. Rowling, health experts are concerned that prisons and detention centers are lagging when it comes to vaccinations. We know these folks who work with the inmates go back home to their communities, their stores, and everything else, after they leave work. How does this in turn impact the spread of the coronavirus?
Well, what it does, it continues to be a source of infection for the society. I mean, when you think about what happened initially a year ago when the SARS-CoV pandemic really took off, one of the most vulnerable population were people that were incarcerated, prisons, jails, and stuff, and they were a significant source of the infection. So you can imagine now folks that are in prison are detained being the source of the infection for not just for the general population, but also for society. And so as long as these folks are in this type of vulnerability, they're going to always be a source of infection. And that is why it's very important that when we talk about trying to mitigate and contain the SARS-CoV pandemic, one of the population that we have to make sure that has a uniform policy is to make sure that our protected people that are incarcerated, have the same full vaccination programs, access to medication, access to education, etc. If not, what happens is it's always going to be a source of infection. So you can imagine somebody going into the system can get infected and die. You can imagine one of the prisoner guards or the correctional officer bringing the disease to contained individuals in a prison system, or somebody's being released home to their families, that they can be the source of the infection. So at the end of the day, it's a significant problem, and this is going to be one of the lagging reasons why we're still going to have a continual infection of the SARS virus in our population.
And Dr. Rowland, just to even a closer look at the numbers, reportedly only about 40% of federal prison inmates and half of those in the largest state prison systems have gotten vaccinated. The whole goal, obviously, is to eventually get to herd immunity. Does that push us from getting closer?
We're never going to get to herd immunity, Brittany, and that's a reality. And then when you start talking about a vulnerable population like somebody in prison or detained in a jail system, you have to realize that historically our country has always treated these individuals as pariahs of society. And in fact, that some of the medical experimentation were performed on prisoners without their informed consent, period, end of story. And so there's going to be that lack of trust in the system. As long as there's that lack of trust in the system, and the prisoners or detainees are not informed or educated about the SARS virus itself, how do you treat it, what is the long-term consequences, you're always going to have that source of the population that just does not believe in the system because of the way the system has treated other individuals. That is why it's very important that if you're going to try to get herd immunity, you're going to have to sit down with each prison system, especially the federal prison system, and have a town hall and explain to the prisoners what the vaccine is capable of doing, what are the side effects, why should you get a vaccine, so they can have some type of informed consent to make that decision for themselves, and that will help out the society and also help to mitigate and contain the virus itself.
And Dr. Rowland, really quickly before I let you go, do you think these new incentives that they're offering some of the inmates to get the vaccine will basically help folks say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and get it?
Well, I mean, anytime, you put an incentive in anything, it could be, giving people free ice cream, free coffee, or even a lottery like they're doing in the state of Ohio. That can be an incentive, but I think at the end of the day, people are going to have to make, and these folks that are in that system or any system that has an incentive, you're going to have to make the best decision for yourself. Is it possible that if I got $1,000 that I would be more interested in getting a vaccination? Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't? But at the end of the day, folks, what it comes down to is that we have to work as a uniform society. We have to have humanity where everybody in the world that kid in the jungles of Peru, or that kid in the jungles of Africa, or that kid in the Indian reservation in the United States, or that prison detainee has to have the ability to have access and have accurate information based off the science and medicine to make the best decision for themselves. Because if we don't work as a society, we're never ever going to get to herd immunity, and the virus itself is going to continue to do what it's going to do. And I understand that people feel comfortable now that the numbers are kind of low, but this is getting ready for the storm, because I can promise you when September, October, November comes, we're going to be back in the same situation again. So people still need to make sure they're not compliant and understanding the science and medicine of the virus.
And we are all hoping for some solutions to this, right? Well, Dr. Lane Rowling, thank you so much again for joining us. We appreciate your time every Sunday when you show up here on BNC.